everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you're here because today I'm going to be walking you through from start to finish a live wedding painting. If you're new here, my name is Emily Winslow and I'm a watercolor artist who loves to spread the joy of art to others. Live wedding paintings are so special to me because I love to create something for the bride and groom that they're going to remember their wedding day for the rest of their lives, and something to be hung in their home that can remind them of that beautiful day. So I'm going to walk you through from start to finish when I get to the venue, while I'm painting the background, when I paint the bride and groom, and my favorite part of this is when I reveal the art to the bride and groom. It is time to head over to the venue. Alright, so we're here at the venue. Let me go over what materials I usually bring with me. So of course we need our canvas, and I usually like to start with a nice primed color. So I usually do a peach undertone, and I do this the day before I go to live wedding paintings. That way it's already dry. And I do this undertone for a few reasons. One, I like to have a warmer look to my end result in my paintings. And also it helps take away some of that stress of putting the first brush on your canvas. Since I already, painted the entire canvas, I feel a little more ready to go ahead and start the painting. So secondly, I always bring a palette with me, and I like to put what's called a paper palette on top of it. That way I can change it out when my paint dries up or if I need to shift colors. I also need my brushes with me, so I brought a vast collection. I've got a couple round brushes that are smaller and that I can use to do the more finer details and the people. And then I have some bigger brushes with me that I use for the background. Of course, we need our paint with us, so I bring definitely a lot of white with me because I use white in almost everything in the painting. And then I have a lot of different tubes with me with the different shades of colors that I need. So depending on the venue that I'm painting, I will vary the colors that I bring. So today we're doing an indoor painting that has a brick wall. So I am going to be using a lot of brown in my paintings rather than if I'm doing an outdoor painting, I might use a lot more green and would need to make sure I bring a lot more of that color with me. I also need to make sure I bring a jar of water because this is what is going to help me change the colors that I'm using, and paper towels to wipe off my brush with. All right, so let's talk about the process for how we're going to do this painting. I always start, like I said, with an underpainting, and then I'm going to first paint the background, the wall that's behind the altar, and the altar itself, and part of the ceiling and floor. So that's going to be the background. And then when the wedding or the ceremony occurs, I'm going to grab a picture of the bride and groom kissing, and that's the reference photo that I'm going to use to paint the bride and groom. So during the reception, that's when I usually paint the bride and groom, and that's when I love to interact with the guests at the wedding, and I love when they come and talk to me about my painting, so we're going to see that later. Now, the very last thing that I do at the end of the painting is varnish it, so that's putting a clear coat over the entire painting. I do this either here if I finish the painting, or I take the painting home with me and put on the clear coat. I love to give myself the option of doing either one. That way I don't feel the pressure of having to finish the painting here if it doesn't get done. Alright, so I'm starting my painting around 1 p.m. knowing that the ceremony is at 4:30. I wanted to give myself a full 3.5 hours, which is a little bit more than I normally give myself to paint the background. But this venue is indoors and has some more detail in it, so I wanted to make sure to give myself that extra padding time, just in case. I'd rather have more time than less. I don't really have a specific method on where to start in the painting. I usually just like to pick the biggest object or something that will help me with proportions. So for this painting, I wanted to start with doing the windows because I thought that would help me throughout the rest of the painting, figuring out where things should go. I loved the gold trim in the windows. I think that was maybe one of my favorite parts of the paintings. I love to do small details like that. It is about 2:45. We have about an hour and a half until the wedding ceremony starts. The venue is all set up and it looks gorgeous. And I have a little bit more to go with the background, so I'm working on the bricks currently. They are a little bit difficult to paint, so I'm glad I got here early to this wedding. I'm doing an initial layer of the bricks here, and eventually I'm going to go over with like a lighter wash because the bricks have more of an older look to them. So right now they're mostly dark brown, but I'm going to go in later to add some white and varying colors to give a little bit more texture to them. I'm refreshing my paint palette here. I usually do this about 2 to 3 times during the whole day. Now for one of my favorite parts of the paintings. I loved painting this altar. anything white and sheer such as this drape or the bride's dress. I love doing those details. The guests are starting to arrive, so I got to talk to a few during that waiting time, and we're getting ready for the ceremony here. I continue to work on my painting during the ceremony, and then when I hear that the bride and groom are about to have their first kiss, I get up and get ready to get my photo. So here's the photo that I grabbed during the ceremony that I'm going to refer to for the rest of the painting. Alright, so the ceremony is over. I have my background done. I'm really happy with how it turned out. We're getting ready for the reception and cocktail hour, so I'm going to be painting the bride and groom next. The ceremony area was switched out into the reception. I loved all the decor. And then the lovely couple were announced as husband and wife for the first time. Now for painting the bride and groom, and for me, this is one of the trickiest parts for live wedding paintings. Painting people is just something that I had to practice a lot because getting proportions and likeness right is something that is very hard to do. And I have to always keep in mind that this part usually starts out pretty rough, and then I just have to trust the process for it to take shape. I'm going to be pretty vulnerable here. I had a little bit of a stressful time. Luckily, I have my wonderful husband here to be some moral support for me while I talked through it, because I was having a hard time getting the skin tone right because the photo that I got was pretty shadowy and was a little bit hard to work with. And you know what? After I kept working on it, it turned out great and I was so happy with it. But sometimes I just have to get out of my head and continue working on the painting and it will all work out. So if you're new to live wedding paintings, just take a breather. It will all be okay. Alright, I just got done painting the bride and groom. The next step is I'm going to varnish the painting and then we're going to do the reveal. I got this gloss varnish from Hobby Lobby, and I remember the first time I used it, I kind of freaked out because I didn't realize that it goes on in kind of like a white color. So the first time I used it, I thought I ruined my painting, but don't worry, it dries clear. Okay, now that the painting is varnished and dried, I'm going to go ahead and do the reveal with the bride and groom. Let's go! And here we are at the reveal. This is the most satisfying parts of doing live wedding paintings for me because I love to see the joy and happiness on the bride and groom's face when they see themselves in a painting that they're going to be able to hang in their homes and cherish for the rest of their lives. I hope you all enjoyed watching this video, whether you are an artist who wants to start doing live wedding paintings or you're a bride looking for a live wedding painter. Go ahead and let me know in the comments below if you have any questions about what you saw in this video today. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, you can find me on social media at Watercolor with Emily and my website watercolorwithemily.com, where you can stay up to date on my events and my blog. I'd love if you like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time. Secondly is our easel. Wait, no, it's not. What's it called? What's it called? What's this called? Not an easel. What's this called? Not canvas, not an easel. Palette.